today. I know show season's kind of slowing down, so that's great. Anyway, well, let's get started with the word of prayer. Dear Lord, we just come to you now. We give this time to you, Lord. We come here to worship you, to give you the praise and the honor and the glory that you deserve. I pray that we'll focus on you this morning, that you will be here, that you will guide my words, that they will be yours. Lord, to speak to us this morning. Give us some understanding of what you are trying to teach us. We just thank you again for the time and each and every one here. And again, Lord, that you will speak, that we'll be able to feel your voice. In your name I pray. Amen. Alright, so I had a pretty rough morning. If you haven't figured it out, I'm kind of rough shaving my lectures. We went out at about 3 this morning and did not come home until about 7:30 after I was dressed and ready to go. So, looking a little rough, but we're going to make it through this anyhow. I'm here and I'm excited. One of the other things that made this rough this morning is that I had issues with my technology. I'm not a technology person, and I have all this technology that I don't know how to deal with it. So we're kind of going back to the old way. I've got my notes here and my Bible here. So bear with me and we'll get through it. Anyway, this morning we're going to talk about horse training. Everybody knows that's kind of my favorite topic, of course, and how I kind of make everything blend into our applications. But this morning, I want to talk a little bit more about methods of training. Now, in my mind, I grew up a long time ago thinking that there was one way to break colts, train horses, and then as I grew up and we kind of found a different method that works a little better and I don't get thrown off as much. So we thought that might be a better idea. And turns out it was a great idea, and it kind of, everybody else kind of started to see it that way too. But this idea of breaking colts or horse training at all is about building relationships. So horse training really needs to be about building a relationship with the horse, right? That's what we do. That's what I do. I build a relationship with this horse, and I ask him to do things instead of telling him, you've got to do this or else. Right? I ask him to do it. I ask him to do it. I want that relationship. I want this horse to trust me and what I'm doing. The fact that I'm not going to hurt them. I'm not going to put them in a situation where they get hurt. I want them to trust me. I want them to trust my judgment and what I think is best. It's about building that relationship. All right, and it's so important because the old way there was no building relationship. It was beat into submission. If you're a parent, you've probably used that tactic before. I have. I did. In fact, it's been used on me. Beat into submission. Kind of an old school way of growing up, I guess. But I turned out all right. I'm not scarred. But anyway, so that's the old school, the traditional kind of way is, I mean, they snubbed the horse up to a post, threw the saddle on with it bucking and screaming, climbed on, unlatched him from the post, and they went on. Wherever they ended up, bucking or not. Of course, you had to be a little better rider then, so that made it interesting. But that's kind of gone by the wayside, right? There's very few places, if any, that still do that. Most places now, they spend a little more time with them, gentling them down, getting them used to them and being around and submitting with their head and with their body, so that it makes it a little easier and you end up with a little better horse, right? And I know you're thinking, well, what does that have to do with church and God and us? Well, I'll tell you. This is how we're going to get this church to grow. And this is how we're going to get this church to flourish, to be better, to reach more people, to reach anybody, really, is by building relationships. And how I know that this is biblical, because you may be thinking, well, I don't remember there being a relationship building tutorial in James and Mark. This is the gospel according to Josh. I'm just going to point that out right here, all right? The gospel according to Josh. I just made that up. But the way I got to this point is that I look back on Jesus' life and realized that everything he did in his ministry was about building relationships. He didn't go in there screaming and hollering and, you better do it this way or else. That ain't what he did. He went in there and he showed people how to live. He showed people by his actions. He showed people by his words. He built relationships. And we're going to go through a few of them today. But the first thing I want to go over is, if y'all want to flip to Galatians 5, 14 and 15, that's where we're going to start. But he went, everywhere he went, he was building relationships in different ways. It wasn't always the same way, but he was building relationships in different ways. It was like a new spin every time he met somebody. It was a new something. But understand that this was an important part of his ministry, was the relationship. And this is how he got to people that wouldn't normally be gotten. Are y'all there yet?
Yeah.
What did I say? 14 and 15. Everyone keep on the toes this morning. We have to look up and wishy-washy. It says, for the whole law can be summed up in this one command. Love your neighbor as yourself. But if you're always biting and devouring one another, watch out. Beware of destroying one another. So love your neighbor as yourself. What does that involve? What is the first thing that makes all great relationships? Love. Now, it may not be husband and wife kind of love. It may not be boyfriend-girlfriend kind of love. But it's love. It's caring. It's showing somebody else that you care. And what's the opposite of that? Not loving, not caring. And what does that do? It destroys the relationship. It destroys everything that you work so hard for. So, that's one thing that we have to watch out for in our building of relationships. Is not destroying what we're trying so hard to create. But love is the essence of all great relationships. Love your neighbor as yourself. That's an important part of building relationships. You can't have a great relationship without it. There's no substitute for it. It can't be just having fun. It can't be just doing what you like. There's got to be a love story. Otherwise, there's nothing. If y'all turn now to Luke chapter 19, verses 1 through 10 is the story. I'm not going to go over the whole story. If you know this, it's the story of Zacchaeus. But there's an important part of this story that I want you to understand. And this is about relationship building. This is one way to do relationship building. And this one way is by sharing a meal together. All right? Zacchaeus was a tax collector who was hated by, and she in turn went back and told her family and friends in her town about Jesus. That's pretty awesome. That just spending time with one person and building them up and having that relationship with one person caused a ripple effect that was bigger than anyone else. Of course, Jesus knew it was going to happen, but anyone else could even believe. In fact, the disciples didn't even believe it. If you look down, let me find it real fast. When the disciples come back. The 27, verse 27. So John chapter 4, verse 27. It says that just then the disciples came back. They were shocked to find him talking to a woman, but none of them had the nerve to ask, "What do you want with her?" or "Why are you talking to her?" The woman left her water jar beside the well and ran back to the village, telling everyone, "Come and see a man who has told me everything I ever did. Could he possibly be the Messiah?" So the disciples came back, and they're Jews, and they're wondering why he's talking to a Samaritan woman. And she runs off to get all her friends. Back in the day, whenever this whole method of horse training came about, of relationship building, a lot of people were snubbing it, thinking, "Oh, it's just a fight, it's farce, it's fake, it's not real, it's not going to last," all this stuff. They couldn't see past their own traditions, their own ways, just like the disciples couldn't see past themselves, past their ethnic group, to see that the Samaritans needed this just as much as they did. So there's going to be roadblocks along our way, just like in our training horses. There was roadblocks in the way from the traditional way, where you just let them up and ride, to build a relationship with them and ask them to do things instead of making them. All right? There's going to be people that don't believe. There's going to be people that aren't going to help. There's going to be people that are going to cause resistance. The disciples were there. They never said anything, but they were there. See, they didn't understand what Jesus was doing, why he was talking to this woman, but later on, they would understand. They would understand because Jesus would raise up Paul, or God would raise up Paul on the road to Damascus, and he would be the teacher to the Gentiles, the people who were not Jews. All right? And then kind of everybody would understand that it was not just, Jesus was not just for the Jews. God is not just for the Jews. God is for the Gentiles, meaning God is for everyone. So our relationships don't just start or end here, or end with our people that we're close to, but our relationship building should continue out to everyone. Everyone that we come in contact with, not just our closest neighbor or our friend or whatever, but to everyone. Everyone that we come in contact with. It's not just for one select group of people, it's for everybody. And just like this horse trading method, it began with one or two people, and it began to grow. And now, if you look on RFD or any of these other TV channels or magazines or videos, on YouTube, you can find how to train anything. But these people, this idea, this method grew. And so this idea of relationship building with people, building them up, is going to grow. And it's going to grow here. This is something that Jesus taught, not necessarily in words, but in action. All right? I understand that this may be a new idea, but it's what he taught by what he did. We may not understand it yet. We may not understand where he's going. We may not understand that just because we meet with this one person, what that's going to do. But you never know. That one person gets on fire. He might turn that into a whole town, or a whole city, or a whole group. So we're kind of blind when it comes to future. God knows it all. So who are we to say that that couldn't happen? It's all about building those relationships. The last point I want to make is in John chapter 6. The story is verse 1 through 15. A lot of you may know this is feeding the 5,000. Jesus did a lot of miracles in his time on this earth. In his ministry of about 3 years, he did a lot of miracles, a lot of healing, the blind, the lame, the lepers, and you name it, he healed it. Right? He had God's power to do all of this. And Jesus here at this time was doing miracles, and the crowd was astonished, they were amazed, and so they didn't want to leave him. They kept following everywhere they would go. Well, it was about time for Passover, and everybody was still hanging around. You know those people that come and just don't want to leave? Yeah, nobody got friends like that. We have friends like that. And we're also friends like that. So understand, it's one particular couple that we're friends with that we tend to do this with each other. And it's okay, we love them. But this group, I can't imagine 5,000 people come to my house and I would leave. I'd be like, bring the guns out or something, y'all got to go. But Jesus wasn't like that. Good thing, right? Good thing. Yeah, that would work. Jesus wasn't like that. All right? He was doing all these great things, and he saw a hunger in these people that they needed him. They needed something from him that they could not get anywhere else, and he knew that. So what did he do? He took his disciples aside, and they were praying, and he was like, all right. And this was a test. He was like, all right, where can we go get food for all these guys? And the disciples were like, not sure. It would take all this money to buy food for all these people. And so Jesus was like, you're missing the point. And so Andrew came up and was like, hey man, there's this guy and he's got a couple of fish and some loaves of bread. What can we do? And Jesus was like, this is what you need to do. And so he instructed everybody what to do, and bam, they were all dead. And then they had leftovers. The point I'm trying to make here is that Jesus, this part of relationship building, was that he was showing kindness. He was showing care. He really cared about these people. He really cared about these people. How many times in your life do you really care about something? So much so that you have a passion for it, that if it's not done or if somebody doesn't know that you care, you're awake at night. Real. Real care. How do you let them know that? How do you let them know that? You let them know by caring for them, by showing them. Just like right here, Jesus was showing the people that he cared about them, but more so he was showing his disciples how to build those relationships. That was a lot of his ministry was not necessarily to the people that was everywhere, but to the disciples that were running beside him all the time. They were learning all the time how to live like Christ. They got to spend every day with him. So not only was he building relationships with other people, but he was building close relationships with just a few. So that they would know how he felt about things, so that they would know the guidance that he offered, the wisdom that he had. But with the 5,000, he really showed them that he cared for their well-being. Through his kindness, through his words, through his actions. It was all about, what can I do for you? You see, being Christ-like is the very opposite of being selfish. And in our human nature, that's what we are. Think about a toy. Or if that toy is theirs, they're yes, that toy is mine. And then if you ask your other son or daughter whose toy that is, if it's theirs, they're selfish. We have to teach them not to be, right? The caring, the selflessness, that's going to build a relationship. If you go into a relationship thinking, what can I get out of it? You don't really care for that relationship. It's not a real relationship. It's not built on love. It's not built on kindness or caring. It's built on you. And that's it. And what kind of garbage is that? Pretty selfish. Pretty rude, right? What do you think about whenever I know I get this way all the time whenever my kids, we're at somebody else's house and they go take something from their other, the people's houses where they're kids. I'm thinking, oh my goodness, what have I taught my children? Are they really acting like this? But it's a process that we go through of teaching them not to be selfish. And we have to go through the same process of learning how to care for others sometimes. Sometimes this problem has started whenever we are hurt by something. We have a traumatic experience in our life. We're hurt some kind of way, whether it's emotionally, physically. We have issues, and so we get down on ourselves, we get selfish about things, and we don't know how to care for others because we're so worried about ourselves. We lose the point. And then you turn around, and there's no relationships there. You don't have any relationships because you don't have any friends because you don't care about other people. All you care about is you, me. It's easy to do that. It is easy to do that. But you've got to get around that. You've got to learn through Christ what He did, and that is build relationships. That is care for somebody else besides yourself. That is love one another. Right? The whole point behind all this is loving one another. That's how you show your caring. That's how you build relationships. That's how you have good relationships. These trainers did the same thing. All right? These trainers, nowadays, they have, like I talked about earlier about the videos and stuff, they're not only teaching these horses how to have building a relationship with the horse for just them. These videos and what they're doing nowadays is that they're showing other people how to build relationships with horses. They're not just saying, I'm going to build a relationship with this horse and I'll send it back to you and then go on, right? No, that's not how they're doing it. What they're doing now is they're building relationships with these horses and then they're showing the owners how to do it. That's why they have videos, right? Kind of a do-it-yourself thing. But it's all about the video. It's all about, now don't get me wrong, a lot of the thing is they can sell more so they can make more money this way. But the essence, the point I want to make is the fact that they're not just building a relationship with this horse. They are teaching others how to build relationships with horses. That's what Jesus did. He wasn't just building, which he did. He built relationships with the woman as well, with Zacchaeus and countless others. But he was also showing his disciples how to build the relationships. He was also showing other people how to build the relationships so that this would not stop with him. But it would continue on, and it did. And the disciples figured it out, finally, after being crazy for so long. They finally figured it out. And they're like, you know what, Jesus is a pretty smart fellow. I think I'll do what he did. And so they continued to build relationships. If you look at all the letters that Paul wrote to all the churches, he was building relationships. He went around and he taught and he taught and he taught. And after the church was together, he wrote back to them, hey, y'all doing great, or hey, you need to fix this, or he had that relationship. He built that relationship. That's what builds the church up. And that's what we need to do here across Creek Capital Church. It's important to have our relationships not only to ourselves or to our inner group, but also outward. This is not just hey, everybody come here and we're going to minister to you here. This is something we need to do out. We need to focus our efforts on ministry, not just in, but out. And that's what we intend to do. That is our goal. This love has to be shown outside. This relationship building has to be done outside in every way that I explained today. These are not the only ways, don't get me wrong. There are many more on relationship building. I am not a relationship building expert. You can ask anybody that knows me. But these are a few ways that are definitely going to work. And the way I know they're going to work is because Jesus showed them to us. But this love everyone, love your neighbor as yourself, this is the point of being Christ-like. This is the goal of being Christ-like. The relationship that we build with one another is important. Extremely important. But it's not the most important. And I say all this because the most important thing that you can do is have a relationship with God yourself. That is the most important thing you can do. Once you have that, the most important thing you can do is build relationships with everybody you come in contact with and let them know about Jesus. But if you're here this morning and you wonder, well, how do I get that relationship with him? Well, there's a few things you've got to do. You've got to understand that you're a sinner. And what that means is you mess up. You're not perfect. You're human. Duh. So am I. But you've got to understand that Jesus came and died on the cross to set you free from that sin, from that messing up. So just because you mess up, you're not. The penalty for that is death. So I don't want to die eternally. So I follow Christ. You've got to understand those couple of things. But if you, let me get this right. I don't want to mess this one up. You look at Romans. That you don't have to turn there. I'm just going to stop this off. Romans chapter 10, verse 9 says, if you confess with your mouth that Jesus is Lord and believe in your heart that God raised him from the dead, you will be saved. That is it. That is the essence. There's a lot of stuff that goes in there. If you want or have questions about it, I hope you're going to talk to me about it. I'll be happy to explain it. But that is the essence of what it takes to have that personal relationship with God. Christ came down the cross to take away our sins, but also to create an avenue for us and God. See, you don't have to come to me to worship. You don't have to come to me to pray. You can do it on your own. You can pray, you can talk to God on your own. I am not the most holy high priest, whatever they used to call it. I'm just an avenue to God sent to preach his word. And to let you understand that I am not the way. Jesus is the way, the truth, and the life. And no one comes to the Father except through him. And this is how. Let's pray. Dear Lord, I just thank you for this morning. I thank you for your word. I thank you for a great group of people to come here and to seek what you have to say. I thank you for the place to meet, Lord. There's so many things